The ship was dying. Metal walls groaned in the dark as oxygen leaked into the endless void. The last lights flickered above the heads of frightened children. Their small hands clutched at their mother's clothes. Their voices were thin, weak from hunger and fear. She pulled them close. Her name was Ilara, and she had no strength left. For days she had searched the broken ship, looking for power cells, for food, for air. Nothing was left. Only silence, only death waiting in the dark. Then they came. The collectors. They appeared without sound, tall, thin shadows with eyes like burning coals. Their robes flowed like liquid smoke, and their voices echoed inside the mind instead of the ear. Everyone in the galaxy feared them. They were not hunters of flesh or blood. They were hunters of something deeper, souls. One of the shadows leaned forward. His voice slid into Ilara's thoughts. "You want your children to live?" he whispered. "We can make them live." Her heart beat fast. "How?" The collector's mouth stretched into something like a smile. "A trade. We give life. You give what we desire most." Ilara already knew the answer, but her lips still trembled when she asked, "What do you want?" The shadows spoke together like 100 whispers in the dark. "Your soul." Her breath caught. A soul. The eternal part of her. The thing no one could ever replace. Without it, she would still walk, still breathe, but she would not be the same. She would be a hollow shell. Her eyes fell to her children. They were so small, so helpless. Their faces were pale, their chests rising and falling in shallow gasps. Without help, they would not last the night. She swallowed hard. Tears burned in her eyes. "If I give you my soul," she said slowly, "my children will live." The collector nodded. "They will breathe. They will eat. They will grow. We promise promises, from creatures that had never lied but also never cared. Their deals were always final. No one ever broke a bargain with the collectors." Her children coughed, weak and tired. That sound cut her deeper than any blade. She closed her eyes. Her choice was already made. "Yes," she whispered. "Take it, take my soul." The shadows stirred, pleased. One raised his long, bony hand, and the air grew heavy. A cold wind swept through the broken ship. Something inside Ilara, something bright and warm, began to pull away. She gasped, clutching her chest as if her heart was being stolen. And then, it was gone. Her eyes opened. She still stood. She still breathed. But the world looked empty now, colorless. Her heart felt quiet. Too quiet. She looked down at her children and felt nothing, no love, no fear. Only emptiness. The collectors laughed softly. "It is done. Your soul is ours." The children were lifted into glowing stasis pods. Their breathing steadied. Their faces grew calm. They would live. Ilara touched the glass, watching them sleep. She remembered she should feel joy, but the joy would not come. She remembered she should feel relief, but the relief was not there. Only silence inside her heart. From the shadows of the broken ship, another figure stepped forward. He was not a collector. He was human. His face was scarred, his eyes sharp, his voice low and steady. He had been watching. The collectors turned toward him, annoyed. "You have no place here, wanderer." The man ignored them. His gaze stayed fixed on Ilara. He saw the hollow in her eyes, the way she moved without soul, the way her love had been stolen. And then he spoke. "I will buy it," he said. The collectors paused, surprised. "Buy a soul? You are human. What will you do with it? What use do you have for such a thing?" The man stepped closer. "That is not your concern." "Name your price," the collectors hissed. "Foolish human. Do you even understand what you ask for? Souls are the only currency that never loses value. To us, they are eternity." The man did not flinch. "To me, eternity means nothing." "But her soul means something." Ilara stared at him. Her voice was flat, empty, but her words were clear. "Why? Why would you care for me? You don't even know me." The man's eyes were hard. "Because I know what it means to lose everything. And because humans do not leave others to suffer alone." The collectors hissed louder now, their smoky bodies twisting. "If you want her soul, you must give us something of equal worth. What will you pay?" The man reached into his coat and pulled out a small crystal shard glowing with strange energy. "I have traveled long and far. I have seen worlds collapse. I have taken things even you would find useful. This will be my offer." The collectors bent low, their fiery eyes gleaming as they studied the shard. Then they smiled. If their twisted mouths could be called smiles. Very well, they whispered. The trade is made. Her soul belongs to you. The air shifted. The crystal that held Alara's soul appeared in the man's hand. He held it carefully as if it was the most fragile thing in the universe. Alara touched her chest again. Still empty. Still cold, but now her soul was not gone forever. It rested in the hands of a stranger. And for the first time since the bargain began, a spark of hope flickered, though faint, in her hollow eyes. The collectors faded back into the shadows, leaving behind their echoing laughter. The man stood in silence, staring at the glowing shard, knowing he now carried the most dangerous burden of all. The price of a soul had been paid. The collectors vanished into the shadows, their laughter fading like cold wind. The broken ship grew quiet again. Only the hum of the stasis pods remained, glowing softly where the children slept. Alara stood motionless. Her eyes were dull, her chest hollow. She was alive, but not whole. Her soul was gone. The stranger held the crystal that now contained it. The small shard glowed faintly in his palm, pulsing like a heartbeat. He turned it over carefully, studying its light. Alara's voice broke the silence. It was flat, without warmth. "Why did you do this?" she asked. The man's eyes lifted to hers. He had a face marked by years of wandering, scars across his cheek, lines of hardship etched deep. His voice was calm, steady, because it was the right thing to do. Her head tilted slightly, almost robotic. Without her soul, she struggled to understand meaning. The right thing has no weight. Nothing feels right. Nothing feels wrong. The man's gaze softened for a moment. He closed his fist around the glowing shard. "Then trust me until you feel again." His name was Kalen. He had been traveling alone for years, moving from ruined station to forgotten world, always at the edge of danger. He had seen slavers, warlords, and broken empires. But the collectors were different. They were older than any empire, older than human history among the stars. To meet them and walk away alive was rare. To buy a soul from them was unheard of. Kalen knew this act would mark him. The collectors would remember his name. They did not forgive. They did not forget. But as he looked at the shard in his hand, he felt no regret. Alara's children stirred inside their pods, their small faces pressed against the glass as they dreamed. The sight made Kalen's chest tighten. He remembered other faces, faces long gone. Alara followed his gaze. Her voice was hollow, but her words carried weight. "You did not know me. You did not know them. Why risk so much?" Kalen leaned against the cracked wall of the ship, the glow of the shard lighting his scarred face. "Because once," he said quietly, "someone saved me, and I never got to thank them." Her empty eyes blinked slowly, trying to process. "So, you carry a debt?" Kalen shook his head. "No, I carry a choice, and I choose to give others the same chance I was given." Alara was silent. Her mind felt blank, but somewhere deep something stirred at his words. It was faint, like a shadow of the woman she had been. The ship shuddered as metal scraped against metal. A piece of the hull broke loose and drifted into space. Their time was short. Oxygen was almost gone. Kalen stood tall, pocketing the glowing shard carefully. "This ship is finished. If we stay, you and the children will die." Alara's tone was monotone. "Death means little without a soul." "Not to them," Kalen said firmly, nodding toward the children. "They need you breathing, whether you feel it or not." He moved to the control panel, fingers flying across cracked screens. Sparks burst. Systems were failing everywhere. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Calling my ship," Kalen answered. "It's nearby." Minutes later, a deep rumble shook the broken vessel. Through a shattered window, Alara saw it. A dark ship, old and scarred like its master, but alive. It latched onto the dying hull with heavy clamps. The airlock hissed open. Kalen motioned toward the pods. "Help me move them." Together, they carried the children to safety. Alara moved like a machine, precise but without love. She touched her daughter's hair but felt nothing. She pressed her hand to her son's chest and found only silence inside herself. Kalen noticed. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He only carried the weight for her. Inside Kalen's ship, the air was stale but breathable. The lights flickered, but there was life. The children's pods were secured and the door sealed shut. Alara sat against the wall, staring blankly. Kalen placed the glowing shard on a table. Its light filled the small cabin with warmth. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, Alara's voice broke the quiet. You hold my soul. That makes you my master. Kaylin's eyes narrowed. No, it makes me your guardian. She shook her head slowly. Souls are power. The collectors said it. You could control me. You could command me. Why not use it? Kaylin leaned forward, his hand resting beside the shard. Because power means nothing if it destroys what it touches. You are not a weapon. You are not a servant. You are a mother. And one day you will need this back. Her lips parted slightly. She wanted to feel something at his words. Hope, fear, anger, anything. But still she was empty. Why not now? She asked. Kaylin looked at her children, then back at her. His voice dropped heavy with meaning. Because giving something back too soon can break it. Sometimes. You have to wait until the heart is ready. Alara fell silent again. His words stirred something faint inside her, but not enough. She leaned her head against the wall, eyes on the glowing shard. Kaylin leaned back, watching it too. He knew the collectors would return someday. They would want revenge. They would not allow a human to walk away with such a prize. But for now, in the quiet hum of his ship, he had done something no one had dared before. He had bought a soul, not to keep it, not to use it, but to protect it. And in that choice lay the strange, dangerous strength of humanity. The hum of Kaylin's ship filled the silence. It was steady, reliable, a heartbeat in the endless dark of space. Inside the small cabin, Alara sat with her knees pulled to her chest. Her eyes stared at the floor, blank and unblinking. Her children had awakened. The stasis pods had opened slowly, steam rising as the seals broke. A small cough escaped from her son, followed by a soft whimper from her daughter. They blinked, confused, frightened, and then saw her. Mother, they cried together. Their small feet stumbled across the metal floor as they ran into her arms. She caught them. She held them, but she felt nothing. Their faces pressed into her chest, warm tears soaking through her torn clothes. Tiny hands clutched her tightly, begging for safety, for comfort, for the love only a mother could give. But inside her heart, there was only silence. Kaylin watched from the far side of the cabin. His eyes were sharp, but his face softened as he saw the children's desperate embrace. He saw their relief, their joy, and then he saw Alara's hollow stare, the way her arms wrapped around them only because she remembered she should. He clenched his jaw. He hated the collectors more in that moment than ever before. The boy looked up, his small voice trembling. Mother, we were scared. But we're safe now, right? You'll keep us safe? Alara blinked. Her mouth opened, but the words caught in her throat. She knew she should say yes. She knew she should reassure him. But the feeling behind those words was gone. She could not give what she no longer had. Kaylin stepped forward. His voice filled the silence. Yes, she'll keep you safe. And I will too. The children turned to look at him. Their eyes were wide, unsure of this stranger. But there was something in his tone, steady, certain, that made them believe. They pressed against their mother, but their eyes stayed on Kaylin. Hours passed. The ship drifted toward the nearest habitable station. Kaylin adjusted the controls, setting their course. Behind him, Alara sat with her children, brushing their hair, feeding them the rations Kaylin provided. Her movements were careful, precise, but they were empty. Her daughter whispered, Mother, why don't you smile? Alara froze. She forced her lips upward, but it was a lifeless shape, a shadow of the warmth she once carried. The girl frowned, sensing the difference, but said no more. Kaylin's hand tightened on the controls. He could hear every word. Later, when the children slept, Kaylin placed the glowing shard on the table again. It pulsed softly, lighting the cabin. Alara's gaze fixed on it. My soul, she said flatly. Kaylin nodded. Yes. Why don't you return it? She asked, his eyes narrowed. Because you're not ready. Her voice was sharp but hollow. Not ready? You think I enjoy being this? I feel nothing. My children. I should love them, but it's gone. Do you know how cruel that is? Kaylin leaned forward, his voice firm. Yes, I know exactly how cruel it is. And I know if I gave it back now, it might shatter you. A soul torn and stitched too soon may never heal right. It has to be returned when you can carry it again. Her fists clenched. And you decide that for me? You hold my soul like a master with a chain. Kaylin's eyes darkened. No, I hold it like a shield. Because the collectors will come back for it, and if I gave it to you now, they'd take it again. And this time there would be nothing left. The room grew silent. The only sound was the steady hum of the ship. Alara looked at her sleeping children. Their small bodies curled close together, safe at last. She reached out and touched her daughter's cheek. The skin was soft, warm. She knew she should feel love, but there was only emptiness. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "They deserve better than me." Kalen stood, walking closer. His hand rested gently on her shoulder. "They don't need perfect. They need you. Even hollow, even broken, you are still their mother. They will not give up on you, and I won't either." For the first time, Alara's blank eyes flickered. It wasn't emotion, not yet, but it was something. A spark buried deep inside the void. The children stirred in their sleep, murmuring dreams. Kalen turned away, pacing the room. His mind raced. He knew the collectors. They would not leave this soul trade unchallenged. Humans were not meant to hold what only ancient beings valued. By taking her soul, he had insulted them, defied their laws, and that meant they were being hunted already. He looked at the shard again, glowing gently on the table. A mother's soul. A treasure beyond measure to the collectors. A burden beyond measure to him, his jaw set. "Let them come," he muttered under his breath. Alara lay down beside her children, her arms wrapping around them. The act was mechanical, but the image was still powerful. A mother guarding her young in the dark of space. Kalen watched from the shadows, his hand resting near the shard. He had walked countless worlds, seen endless struggles, but this was different. This was not just survival. This was a war of meaning. The collectors believed souls were nothing but currency. Alara believed her soul was lost forever. The children believed their mother was still whole, and Kalen. He believed humanity was more than the collectors could ever understand. As the ship sailed silently through the void, three truths burned bright. A mother without her soul could still fight for her children. A human with no reason to care could still choose compassion. And the collectors, for all their ancient power, had no idea what they had started. The ship drifted through silent space. Inside, the air felt heavier each day, as though the weight of the stolen soul pressed on every wall. Alara moved like a shadow. She cared for her children, feeding them, cleaning them, watching over them as they slept. But it was all routine. A mother's hands without a mother's heart. Her children noticed. Children always noticed. "Mother," whispered her daughter one night, clutching Alara's sleeve, "why don't you laugh anymore?" Alara looked down at her with empty eyes. She opened her mouth, searching for a reason, but no words came. Her throat felt dry, her chest hollow. At last she said softly, "I don't remember how." The girl's face fell. She turned into her brother's arms, seeking comfort there. Kalen, watching from the corner, clenched his fists. He wanted to speak, to explain, but he knew no explanation would fill the void in a child's heart. Only their mother's soul could do that, and the shard, the glowing shard, still rested in his hands. That night, Kalen sat alone at the small metal table. The shard pulsed with a gentle light, warm and steady like a living heartbeat. He set it down and stared at it. It called to him. Not with words, but with presence. It felt heavy, not in his palm, but in his mind. Inside the glow, he thought he saw glimpses. Laughter, tears, memories of a life he did not live. Alara's life. Her soul. Kalen shut his eyes and pressed his hands together. He had carried dangerous relics before. He had stolen technology from warlords and artifacts from ancient ruins. But this was heavier than all of them combined, because this was not an object. This was a person. Unseen in the corners of the ship, shadows stirred. The collectors were far away, but their presence stretched thin across the void like smoke crawling under a door. Their whispers coiled into Kalen's mind, cold and poisonous. "You hold what is not yours." Kalen's eyes snapped open. He scanned the room, but the children slept and Alara lay silently against the wall. The voice came not from them, but from beyond. "You are human," the collectors hissed. "You cannot bear the weight of a soul. Give it back to us and we will forget your foolishness." Kalen's lips twisted. "Forget? You creatures never forget." The laughter came soft and cruel. "True, but you cannot protect what you hold. You will fail. And when you do, we will claim not only her soul but yours as well." The shard pulsed brighter as though answering the threat. Kalen placed his hand over it, shielding it. "Not today," he muttered. The voices faded, but the warning remained. Days passed. The children grew stronger, but the gap between them and their mother widened. They clung to her, but she did not cling back. They laughed, but she did not laugh with them. They cried, but her eyes stayed dry. One evening, as the stars shifted outside, Alara confronted Kaylin. "Why do you keep it from me?" she demanded. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned, not with emotion, but with something sharper, like desperation. Kaylin stood silent for a moment. Then he said, "Because once I give it back, the collectors will come. They will sense it, and you will not be ready." Her lips trembled, though no tears came. "I am not ready now. My children need me. They look at me, and all they see is emptiness. Do you know what that does to them?" "Yes," Kaylin said firmly. "It gives them hope that one day you'll return, and that hope is worth protecting." Alara shook her head. "You speak like you understand. But you don't. You're not their mother. You don't feel the hollowness inside me. Every second I fail them." Kaylin's jaw tightened. He pulled the shard from his pocket and held it out. It glowed between them, warm and alive. "Do you want it now?" he asked quietly. Alara's eyes fixed on it. For the first time, her hand trembled as she reached forward. But just before her fingers touched the light, Kaylin pulled it back. Her voice cracked. "Why? Why stop me?" Kaylin's eyes locked with hers. "Because you want it out of despair. If I return it now, despair will twist it. You'll break under its weight. A soul is not just life, it's strength. And you have to want it for the right reason." Alara froze. His words sank into her emptiness like seeds into soil. The children stirred in their sleep, murmuring softly. Alara turned her head toward them. Her daughter whispered, half dreaming, "Mother, please, don't go away again." Alara pressed a hand to her chest. She felt nothing. But in that nothingness she wanted, more than anything, to feel. Kaylin placed the shard back in his pocket, his voice low but steady. "The collectors believe a soul is only currency. To them it has value because it can be traded. But to us—" He looked at Alara, then at her children. "To us it has value because it makes us human." Alara lowered her head. For the first time since losing her soul, a tear slipped from her eye. It was small, faint, but real. Kaylin saw it. And he knew. The choice was coming soon. Far beyond the stars, in the endless dark, the collectors stirred. They whispered among themselves, anger burning in their endless eyes. "The human resists. He holds what is ours. Then we will take it. And when we do, he will learn the truth. Souls belong to no one but us." Their voices faded into the void. But their promise hung heavy. The storm was coming. The stars outside shifted as Kaylin's ship crossed into an empty stretch of space. The children slept in their bunks, curled close together. Alara sat nearby, her hands folded in her lap. She stared at them, not with love, but with the quiet ache of knowing she should feel it. Her gaze drifted to Kaylin. He sat at the controls, the glow of the shard resting in his pocket, its light spilling faintly through the cloth. She hated and longed for it at the same time. Then the lights flickered. The ship trembled, a sudden shiver that ran through every panel. Kaylin's hands flew over the controls. "They found us," Alara stiffened. "The collectors?" Kaylin's jaw clenched. "Yes." The darkness outside deepened, thick like smoke. Shapes slithered from the void, tall shadows with burning eyes. They did not need ships. They traveled like nightmares, walking through the fabric of space itself. The children stirred in their bunks, sensing the wrongness. Alara rushed to them, holding them close. For the first time since she lost her soul, fear stabbed at her chest, not for herself, but for them. It was faint, fragile, but it was real. The ship's alarm screamed. Kaylin cursed under his breath. "They're trying to pull us out of space. Hold on." The ship lurched as invisible claws dragged it down. Metal screamed, walls shook, and sparks rained from the ceiling. The collectors' voices filled the cabin, cold and sharp. "Human, you carry what is ours. Return it or be torn apart." Kaylin slammed his fist against the console. "It's not yours anymore," their laughter echoed. "All souls are ours. Yours will be next," the children cried, clinging to Alara. Her arms tightened around them. Her heart still felt hollow, but their fear reached her. It slipped past the emptiness, stirring something deep inside. Kaylin turned from the console, his face hard. He pulled the shard from his pocket. It glowed brighter now, pulsing like a living star. Alara's eyes locked on it. Her chest ached, not with emptiness this time, but with longing. She wanted it back, not out of despair, not to end her suffering, but because her children needed her whole. Kalen saw it in her eyes. He stepped closer, holding the shard between them. "This is the moment," he said firmly. "If I give it back, you'll feel everything again. Joy, pain, love, fear, all of it. But once it's inside you, they will sense it. They will fight harder to take it." Ilara's voice shook. "Give it to me. My children need their mother." "Not a shell." The ship groaned, alarms flashing red. The collector's shadows pressed against the hull, their whispers turning into roars. Kalen searched her face. For the first time, he saw more than emptiness. He saw fire, weak, fragile, but real. He placed the shard against her chest. Light burst. Ilara gasped as warmth poured through her body. The emptiness cracked open and a flood of feelings crashed into her. Love for her children, sorrow for what she had lost, rage at the collectors who had stolen it. She cried out, falling to her knees as tears streamed down her face. Her children rushed to her, clinging tight. This time her arms wrapped around them with fierce, trembling love. She kissed their heads, whispered their names, sobbed into their hair. Her soul was hers again. The collectors screamed, their shadows striking the hull harder. "No, the soul is ours."
"Give it back!"
Ilara lifted her head, eyes burning with new light. For the first time since her bargain, she was truly alive. "No," she said, her voice steady and strong. "It's mine." Kalen moved to the controls, trying to break free of their grasp. But the collectors were stronger now, fueled by rage. The ship groaned as cracks spread through the hull. Ilara stood, placing her children behind her. She faced the shadows pressing through the walls, her soul blazing like fire. "You cannot have me," she said. "You cannot have my children," the collectors hissed. "You belong to us. You traded. You cannot break the law of the bargain," Ilara's voice rose. "The bargain was made with despair. Now I stand with love. And love is stronger than your chains." The shadows recoiled at her words, shrieking. Their forms wavered as if her defiance burned them. Kalen shouted over the chaos. "Keep fighting them. They fear you now." The children huddled close, their small hands gripping each other. Their mother's fire filled the cabin, pushing back the cold. Ilara took a step forward, her soul blazing brighter. Memories rushed back. Laughter with her children, the warmth of their hugs, the sound of their voices calling her mother. She poured it all into her defiance. "You are nothing," she told the collectors. "You trade in what you don't understand. A soul is not a coin. It is life, it is love, and it is human." The shadows screamed. The ship shuddered, but the pressure began to ease. Their claws slipped. Their whispers cracked. Kalen pulled the ship free with one final surge. Engines roared, tearing them out of the collector's grip. Stars blurred past as they escaped into open space. Silence fell. The alarms went quiet. The hull stopped shaking. Ilara collapsed to her knees, pulling her children close. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they were tears of love, of relief. Her children hugged her back, smiling through their own fear. Kalen stood behind them, chest heaving, eyes watching her. He saw what the collectors could not. The soul of a mother, burning brighter than any currency. For the first time in years, Kalen smiled. But far in the void, the collectors regrouped. Their rage burned hotter than ever. "This human," they whispered. "He thinks love is power. He thinks a soul is beyond our reach. We will show him. We will break him. And when we do, all of humanity will pay." The ship drifted through calmer stars now. The alarms were silent. The hull no longer shook, but the memory of the collector's attack lingered in every breath. Ilara sat on the floor of the cabin, her arms wrapped tightly around her children. They pressed close to her chest, their small faces buried against her, and this time, after so long, she felt them. Warmth, love, fear, relief. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she kissed their hair again and again. She whispered their names like a prayer. Every heartbeat inside her chest now carried the weight of what she had almost lost forever. Her son pulled back slightly, looking into her eyes. "Mother, you're back." Ilara smiled through her tears. It was a real smile this time, trembling but alive. "Yes," she whispered. "I'm back." Her daughter touched her cheek gently, as if testing to see if she was real. "You're warm again," the little girl said softly. Ilara laughed, shaky but full of life. She pressed her forehead to her daughter's. "I was never gone. Just lost. But you pulled me home." Kalen stood in the shadows, watching quietly. His scarred face was unreadable, but his eyes softened as he saw the reunion. This was why he had waited. This was why he had carried her soul in silence, even when she had hated him for it. If he had returned it earlier, she would have been too broken, too empty. Now she had taken it back with fire instead of despair. He turned away, leaning against the cold wall, and allowed himself a rare moment of peace. But peace never lasted long. Far away, in the emptiness between stars, the collectors whispered. Their voices slid across the void like knives through silk. The human resists. The mother defies us. They spit on the law of the bargain. They mock us with their weakness, and yet it grows into strength. They must be broken. Not just them. All their kind. Their anger burned, but beneath it was something else, a sliver of fear. For the first time in countless ages, they had seen something they did not understand. A human giving back what could have been used for power. And that frightened them. Inside the ship, Ilara tucked her children into their small bunks. She smoothed their hair, hummed softly, and whispered words of comfort until their eyes closed. Sleep came easier now for both them and her. When she finally stood, Kalen was waiting. He still leaned against the wall, arms folded, but his eyes met hers. "You felt it," he said simply. Ilara nodded. "Everything. It's like drowning and breathing at the same time. It hurts, but it's beautiful." She paused, her voice dropping. "And it's mine again." "Thank you." Kalen shook his head. "Don't thank me. Souls don't belong to me. I only held it until you were ready." Her eyes narrowed. "But why?" "You could have kept it. You could have used it for yourself." The collector said souls can bring power. Kalen's lips curved into something close to a smile. "Maybe that's why they'll never understand us. They see a soul as a coin, but we see it as a gift. And gifts aren't meant to be hoarded. They're meant to be given back." Ilara studied him for a long time, her heart stirring at his words. The ship continued its journey. Days passed in uneasy quiet. Ilara grew stronger with each one. She laughed again. She sang softly to her children. She scolded them when they argued, kissed them when they cried, and smiled when they asked too many questions. Each small moment was a victory. Each heartbeat proved she was alive again. But every night when the children slept, she felt the collector's shadow pressing at the edges of her mind. Their whispers lingered, faint but sharp. "We will come for you. We will take what is ours." She pushed the voices away, but they always returned. One evening, Ilara found Kalen sitting at the table with the shard still glowing faintly. It was no longer inside her. It was part of her again, yet the crystal held its echo, a reminder of what had been stolen. She sat across from him, her hands folded. "They're not done, are they?" Kalen shook his head. "No, they'll never stop. You broke their law and I broke their pride. That is something they cannot forgive." Ilara's fingers tightened. "Then they'll come for me again. For my children." Kalen leaned forward. "And when they do, we'll be ready. They think humanity is weak because we bleed, because we break, because we love. But they don't understand that's what makes us strong." Ilara held his gaze. For the first time, she truly understood. That night, as the children dreamed, Ilara stood at the window staring at the stars. Her heart was full again, but so was her fear. She knew the collectors were out there, waiting, plotting, but she also knew something they never would. Her soul was not a chain. It was a fire, and that fire, once lit, could not be taken by force. Behind her, Kalen spoke softly, almost like a vow. "They'll come again. But when they do, they'll learn the truth. Humanity is not like them. We don't keep souls. We protect them. We return them. And that difference will always be our strength." Ilara closed her eyes, resting her hand over her heart. For the first time since her bargain, she felt whole. But far beyond the stars, the collectors whispered one last time. "Let them think love is a shield. When we strike again, they will see. Even shields can break." The journey brought them to the edge of an abandoned world, a planet of ruins and broken towers. Kalen had chosen it carefully. Few dared to come here, few would witness what was about to happen, but the collectors were already waiting. The ship's sensors screamed as the void split open. From the darkness, their forms emerged. Dozens of tall shadows with burning eyes, their voices twisting together in a chorus of hate. "Ilara," they hissed, "your soul belongs to us. You cannot escape the bargain." Their voices rolled through the ruined world, shaking the towers to dust. The children clung to their mother, eyes wide with fear. Ilara stood tall, placing herself between them and the shadows. Her chest rose and fell with steady breath, her eyes burning with new strength. "No," she said, "it's mine." "And no bargain can break a mother's love," the collectors shrieked. Their smoke-like forms swirled, pressing closer, but Kalen stepped forward, his hand resting on the hilt of a worn blade at his side. "You still don't understand," he said quietly. "Humans don't keep souls as treasure. We protect them. And when we give them back, we create something you cannot buy." The collectors roared. "You dare to defy us again?" Kalen's eyes narrowed. "I dare because I'm human." The attack came like a storm. Shadows lashed against the broken towers, claws of black smoke striking at Kalen and Ilara. The ground shook, stone shattering under their fury. Kalen swung his blade, each strike cutting through shadow like lightning. Sparks of light burst where steel met darkness. He fought not as a man seeking victory, but as one buying time. Behind him, Ilara held her children close. But something stirred within her soul, stronger than fear. The collectors had stolen her once, but no more. She would not hide behind another's blade. She stood tall, her voice ringing through the ruins. "You call a soul currency, but you do not know what it is. A soul is love. A soul is memory. A soul is sacrifice. That is why you cannot break us." Her words burned brighter than fire. The collectors faltered, their forms wavering. Kalen grinned through the fight. "They fear your voice," and he called. "Keep speaking." Ilara stepped forward, her children clutching her arms. Her heart surged with the weight of every memory. The first time she held them, their first words, their laughter, their tears. "All the things the collectors could never measure. You cannot own me," she said, her voice rising. "You cannot own any of us, because humanity is not for sale. We are more than bargains. We are more than currency. We are love, and love cannot be bought." The air blazed with light. Her soul pulsed outward, a wave of warmth that pushed the shadows back. The collectors screamed, their burning eyes dimming as their forms flickered. Kalen raised his blade high, shouting over the storm. "Do you see it now? This is humanity's difference. You trade in eternity, but we live in moments, and those moments make us stronger than you will ever be." The collectors shrieked as the light spread. Their shadows shattered like glass, fading into the void, but their voices lingered, furious, desperate. "You think this is victory? We are eternal. We will return. We will devour you all." Kalen lowered his blade, his chest heaving. He looked at Ilara, who still glowed with the fire of her reclaimed soul. Her children clung to her, safe in her arms. He answered the fading voices with quiet certainty. "Then come. Come again and again, and every time you do, humanity will remind you, we are not yours to take." The ruins fell silent. The collectors were gone, their shadows scattered. For now, the stars belonged to them again. Ilara knelt with her children, kissing their foreheads. Her tears fell freely, but this time they were tears of joy. She felt everything. Love so fierce it burned, relief so deep it shook her, and strength she had never known she carried. Her son looked up at her, smiling weakly. "You came back, Mother. You really came back." She pressed her forehead to his. "I will always come back. Always." Later, as the ship rose from the ruined planet, Kalen stood at the window watching the stars. Ilara joined him, her children sleeping peacefully behind them. "You gave me back more than my soul," she said quietly. "You gave me back my children. You gave me back myself." Kalen shook his head. "No, you did that. I only reminded you what was already yours." She studied him, her heart full. "Why, Kalen? Why risk everything for someone you didn't know?" He stared at the endless dark, his voice low. "Because once someone did the same for me. And because in this universe our greatest strength isn't what we take, it's what we give." Ilara placed her hand over her heart, feeling it beat strong again. "Then maybe humanity's difference is the only thing that can save this galaxy." Kalen smiled faintly. "Maybe it already has." As the ship vanished into the stars, the collectors whispered in the distant dark. Their rage burned hotter, but so did their fear. For the first time they had seen what humanity could do with a soul. And it was something no bargain could ever buy. The legend began that night of the mother who sold her soul, the human who bought it, and the day love itself defied eternity. And the galaxy would never forget.